The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we get out of the box and dive into topics that are sidelined. I look forward to entertain, educate, and inspire. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget. Welcome back to Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here a special person. Her name is Dara Zycherman. And I've been practicing. Yes. So I got it. So I'm happy to have her today. She's a minimalist lifestyle coach, a speaker, a blogger, a TEDx speaker, a YouTuber, and so much more. Hi, Dara.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Awesome. So I'm interested in getting to talk to you about this and find out how we can maximize on minimalizing our lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the coach here, you're the expert here. So I want you to tell us first, what exactly is being a minimalist?
Yeah, and that's a great question because being a minimalist can mean different things to different people, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. Minimalism is really a framework that helps us do the most with what we have, or you can think of it as doing the most with the least amount of stuff and effort. So it's more of an approach rather than an end point. So everybody's endpoint with minimalism might look different because we have, different interests, we have different needs, we have different priorities. But being a minimalist is approaching everything that we do with simplicity in mind so that we're not obtaining more things than we need. We're not spending our time on things we don't want to spend our time on. We're actually just focused on what we really love.
Well, that makes sense for us. Are we killing family traditions or giving it a new meaning?
Well, the way I think about family traditions is that they aren't inherently good or bad. So traditions can be wonderful, but just because a tradition exists doesn't mean it's something we want to maintain because we evolve over time. So sometimes creating a new tradition can reflect the values of a family and the changing of the times. So it doesn't mean that traditions aren't important, but if our traditions didn't evolve, we wouldn't evolve. So if, for example, you have a family tradition of gift giving, maybe the past, couple of generations have done that, that doesn't necessarily need to be kept. It isn't necessarily meaningful or helpful to our family members. Maybe it's causing them a lot of stress. Maybe it's, prompting them to spend more money than they can. But what is really important for our families is spending quality time together. So I don't like to think about it so much as, doing away with family traditions, but really that other part of your question about giving it new meaning is what's important. Like, what is most meaningful to us right now, and how can our actions relate to that meaning? And let's not hold on to family traditions for the sake of holding on to them, right? We want to maintain the family. The family is what's important. So what are new ways we can do that are meaningful to us now and that align with our values now?
Okay. Because I've been listening to some of your YouTube videos. Well,
Mm-hmm.
especially there's one today on TEDx also, but other videos on YouTube. And I've heard you speak about even such as gift giving. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people look forward to gift giving. Well, I don't know if they look forward to giving gifts. I think people look forward more to receiving gifts.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Because especially when you have like Christmas and then you have birthdays, especially Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. It's a lot to buying all these
Yep.
Christmas gifts to be given to people.
Mm-hmm.
It is sometimes so much burdensome that you don't get the excitement and the fulfillment that you think you would have gotten to buy the
Mm-hmm.
gifts. And especially in one episode when we were speaking about sometimes they don't even like the gifts that you bought them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost as if, well, if it is that we decide to not buy gifts, we won't have that kind of pressure, and we just decide we'll come together, we spend time together, and we're all
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly, exactly. And maybe there's other treats that you can get as a family together. Like maybe you usually cook a meal at home for the holidays, but you've always wanted to go out as a family to a nice restaurant or something. So you might still spend some money to do something special. It just doesn't have to be a gift. And the other thing that I've noticed, because you mentioned, people like receiving gifts more than giving them. And I believe that's true. But what I've noticed when I go into people's homes to organize for them, they have a lot of gifts that they've been given that they don't want anymore. And so they feel
Hmm.
really guilty about it. And it's not that the gifts are bad. It's just that they aren't that important to them from a functional standpoint. So even when we're giving someone a gift, even if they're very excited when they get it, it might actually be a burden to them later when they feel guilty about letting it go. So that's where gift giving gets a little bit complicated.
So then the other part to that is, are we giving people gifts based on what we like or based on how they can
Mm,
utilize it?
exactly. Yeah. And sometimes
Because I
we
mean,
even,
right, that'll make a difference though.
mhm, right. That's why it's usually better not to go down that path at all, because you could, get something that that person does really like. Maybe they will like it and keep it for a long time, but chances are that won't happen. So you don't want to make all this effort for the occasion that it works out. It's better to focus on just, building the family time together.
And it can by changing how we do things or giving things new meaning, it can lessen the stress that we go through. Because whether people like it or
Exactly.
not, these things bring a lot of stress. It brings depression, um,
Mm-hmm.
unfulfillment, especially when you can't buy the amount of
Mm-hmm.
gifts that you want or you think you should get. So there is no unrealistic expectations on you. So there are a lot of negatives that comes on you just to buy
Exactly.
things for people.
Exactly. Absolutely. So it's like, is it really worth it to get through all of those negatives for the occasion that it might feel good? And I would say it doesn't. It's not worth that because of everything that comes along with it.
Understood. With collecting and passing on family items, is it hoarding or is it protecting the family things?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good question here. So, and in a sense, of family items or these family heirlooms are kind of like traditions in that they aren't inherently good or inherently bad, but we want to, pay close attention. I find that individuals who are holding on to these family heirlooms feel a lot of pressure to hold on to them, regardless of whether or not those family heirlooms are meaningful to them or future generations.
Hmm.
So there's a little bit of pressure, there's some stress that comes along with it. And it's definitely not hoarding if it's only a few items and it's meaningful to somebody. So there's nothing wrong with having some of those family heirlooms, but I usually advise people to keep the heirlooms that can be used and serve a function in their home. So if you had passed down to you some beautiful plates made of china, that's a family heirloom. But if you use those plates and get to enjoy them, then that's a really positive thing. They're getting used and they have meaning behind them. So part of this is also looking at what the function is. Another thing to keep in mind is, again, like objects are just objects. We infuse meaning into them. So you might have a family heirloom that was really important to the family, but still, in the end of the day, it's just an object. Whereas if you have one of the few photos of a family member that exists, that's a unique item that might be useful to keep. So also weighing the benefits of like photos and things that are unique to your family versus objects that have been passed down.
Because you don't want to be keeping a wedding dress passed from your great grandmother that you're never going to wear.
Yes, right, exactly.
Oh, Lord. All right, so let's talk about the home. For all our furnitures, do we need all our furnitures that we see?
Yeah, so this is another big topic that folks don't talk about a lot. The thing is, with furniture, we are making a lot of assumptions because the way houses and apartments are laid out, where it's assumed that you have a table with a lot of chairs and that you have a couch and then you have an area for seating and then you have night tables and you have a bed frame. Like, these are all assumed because that's what we see on television. It's what we see in other people's homes. But there's absolutely no standard by which you have to, get your furniture. You can just get what you need. And the thing with furniture is it's often expensive and it takes up a lot of space. And often it collects items, right? Like if you have a table, you're going to put stuff on the table. If you have a bookshelf, you're going to put stuff on the bookshelf. So it also like encourages us to have more things. So we should be very, very, very picky about what furniture we have in our homes. So I like to suggest that people think about, a blank floor plan, you have no furniture, and then really think about what you do during the day and what your needs are. And then if you really, really need a piece of furniture to support that, you can bring that into your home, but be much more discerning. Don't just assume that because other people have that furniture in their house or that most people do, that you need to have it as well. Completely rethink your needs. Like, for example, I don't have a couch in my apartment. I live by myself. I don't need a couch. I have a chair and I have a bed. So if I want to lay down, I can lay down in the bed. If I want to sit down, I sit down in the chair. So yeah, it's just really important that you don't make any assumptions about what you need and you actually try to have the least amount of furniture possible because furniture takes up room and it attracts stuff.
I remember reading about you again, and you were saying it was one day packed up your stuff in one car and went, and I was thinking, one car? I can't do that. I cannot do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think you're right in that sense because, we get these things called we see it on TV.
Yes.
And then we don't want to just leave it plain. So we need to buy things to put on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it also go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just going to say, and even if we're not buying things to put on them, we are keeping more things because the stuff that we have can sit on the furniture. But if we didn't have the furniture, maybe we would question, do I need all of these books or do I need all of these other things? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I probably really do need to start thinking about that. What is sustainability?
Yeah. So sustainability is essentially looking at the protection of the natural environment with consideration for future generations. So it's not just about, protecting our water and protecting our air and protecting all the living things in the environment for us now today. It's thinking about what can we sustain in the future. So we want to be sure that future generations have access to similar access to resources and that they get to enjoy the beauty of nature that we do. When we destroy our environment today, what we're really doing is stealing the environment from future generations. So in terms of how we can prevent that from happening, we can make better choices in the practice of sustainability by thinking about how our purchases and these actions affect the environment. So classic example is instead of driving somewhere, and when you drive somewhere, it releases the effects of the combustible engine, right? We put gas in our cars and that pollutes our air. Instead of doing that, walking or biking. That's an example of making a sustainable choice because we're not doing something negative to the environment that's going to affect it for future generations. Or in terms of, if we're talking about minimalism, let's say you're buying something. If you buy it without any packaging, or maybe it's in glass packaging, that's way more sustainable than buying something that's in plastic, or that you're buying something that is packaged in something that has to go to the landfill. So we can think about when we do make our purchases, because sometimes we do need to buy things, that it's packaged in a way that's more sustainable. But if we could get away with not buying the thing at all, that's the most sustainable choice.
So for all of us to order stuff from Amazon and we get it in the packaging,
right?
We're not doing any good, are we?
That is correct.
that is correct.
That is correct. And I know for a lot of folks that's hard, right? We kind of got used to ordering a lot of things online. And so when it comes to sustainability, it's best not to get overwhelmed by all of these choices, but pick one thing that you can work on. And when you feel good about that, pick another thing that you can work on, whether it's saving water, whether it's, like I said, walking more than driving. Maybe it's ordering less from Amazon, whatever it is, just make an effort in the right direction and then take it from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
For persons whose love language is receiving gifts, how do we go about that if it is that gift giving sometimes causes more problem?
Yeah, and this is great because I think there's been a lot of conversations around people being able to voice their own needs. So the different love languages help us communicate to the people around us, how we receive love. So it's going to be different for each individual, because if receiving gifts is your love language, how we can address that's going to depend on, your particular needs in any given moment. But generally speaking, I would suggest thinking about what gifts or, what can be substituted as gifts that are less material in nature, so that it involves less, so they're more sustainable. So it's not like buying somebody, a video game console, right? Like that's very much a material thing that eventually is going to go in the landfill. But thinking about different types of gifts you can give someone. So like, flowers, for example, would be something that's less material. It's something that can be composted afterwards, or maybe something that you would consume otherwise, like wine or another drink, fancy chocolates, something like that, where it's not an item, you're still receiving a gift, but the gift itself is something that you would be consuming rather than piling up in your house. And sometimes too, depending on a person's situation, maybe the gift is getting them something that that if their love language is gift giving, get something that they would get anyway, but maybe get a higher quality version of that. So if your partner, if their love language is gift giving, or to receiving gifts rather, and that your partner wants a new set of sheets, and they would normally get like the cheapest sheets, at the store, maybe then you buy them like a higher quality brand of sheets. So you're not really adding anything in terms of material goods, but it is a gift to them because they're getting something in better quality than they would have purchased for themselves. So that's another way. Yeah. So that way they're still getting a gift, but it's not, just going to sit around
and take up space. Awesome. How do we start changing our mindset?
So this is one of those things that just takes some time to do, but once it happens, it like clicks into place. But the first step in it is actually to take a step back and to have a really honest conversation with yourself about what you want out of life. What are your goals? What are your priorities? What do you need? What makes you happy? What makes you unhappy? What makes you feel stressed out? And when I say think about those honestly, I also mean letting go of things you think you're supposed to do. Like we were talking about with furniture. We feel like we're supposed to have a bed on a bed frame with a headboard and nightstands and a couch and all of these things. You can do whatever you want. So when you're thinking about how you want your life to be and what's important to you, don't feel constrained by whatever the status quo is or whatever is common in the culture at the time. Really think about what that is. And that will help you start to develop a mindset it doesn't lead to clutter. It actually leads you to having just what you want and need. But one of the reasons we get into all of this trouble with stuff is because we think we should have things. We're accepting the status quo. We're not rethinking our assumptions about the way our lives can be. And we're not really clear on how our stuff and where we live and what we do, how that relates to what's important to us. Usually our stuff and what's important to us are two different things. So part of the mindset change is just getting really, really clear on what you care about and what you want in your life and what makes you happy. And then you can start, rethinking all of these assumptions about the stuff in your home. So that's kind of like the sort of like bigger answer. But in terms of practical solutions, really, if you surround yourself with education around minimalism and mindfulness and sustainability, if you discuss these themes with people, basically educating yourself, you will just naturally start to think differently about it. So education is definitely key.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much also for helping us to understand that minimalistic or living a minimalistic lifestyle doesn't necessarily mean not having anything in your house.
Exactly.
It just means having things in our home that we actually need. It's something we need, not just want. So that's important. You have also helped me to not just buy things because it will look good at home.
Oh, so that's great. I'm so happy to hear that.
Oh my goodness. You see all these things on TV, oh my God, that would look good at home, but do we need it?
Exactly. Yeah. We have to, those questions are so important. Mm-hmm.
And are we just spending money to spend money because that money could have been used for something else?
Exactly. Yeah. And it could have been used to buy something as well, but maybe instead of buying 10 things that we feel okay about, we can splurge and buy one thing that we absolutely love and we thought we couldn't afford, but we can now because we didn't buy the other 9 things that we didn't really want as much. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that's very important. So thank you so much for that. I want you to tell our listeners where is it that we can find you.
Yes, so the best place to go to find me is my website. And my website is whylessequalsmore.com. So when I say why, I mean the question why. Why?
Right.
So it's whylessequalsmore.com. And if you go to my website, links to my social media will be there. And you'll be able to sign up for my newsletter. It just goes out twice a month. I have a lot of great content, a lot of great ideas in those newsletters. And when you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free ebook from me that gives you the step-by-step process for how to simplify your home.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And I'm very sure that our listeners also have enjoyed it, especially those who like to spend. Yeah, talking to myself also. So, Thank you so much again for that. um, and thank you to our listeners for listening to The Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.
Bam bam bide, bam bam bide, bam bam bide, bam bam bide.